City Council meeting to order. Mr. Lama will lead us in the pledge.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council members, you have an agenda before you. I'll ask for an approval.
So moved. Second.
No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I believe we do have one public comment this evening. Andrew Moore. Mr. Moore, if you would please, sir, go to the microphone for the purpose of being recorded for our minutes. We do ask, and we provided on our card, that comments be kept to as close to, I want you to be able to complete your thought, but if you'll keep it to 3 minutes, please.
Yeah, no problem. Well, thank you for your time. So this will be 30 seconds. So John Davis Recreation Center has been a staple in our community for decades. When y'all discuss the next portion of the agenda, when you discuss what's happening next with a construction project and other things that are happening, please disclose, if you would, the projected timeline of the project and the scope of construction, what all is being included in that. That's it.
Thanks,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Moore. Thanks for being here this evening. Okay. Council members, before you, there are no other comments. No? Okay. You have before you minutes from our meeting on May 6th. I trust everyone's had an opportunity to review those. I'll ask for a motion to approve if there are no changes.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Those are accepted. New business. Fiscal year 2024 budget amendment number 2. Cindy?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As discussed in the Finance Committee, this is a comprehensive budget amendment that's going to impact the general fund, our bonded capital project fund, some grant funds, and our SPLOST fund. We went over most of the line items in the earlier meeting. This is going to, as you know, we have a lot of RFPs and bids that have come in, and some of them have come over budget, some have come under budget, but this will get some of our revenues that are over budget and shore us up with the projects as well. Do you have any questions?
There are no questions for Cindy. I'll ask for a motion.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Cindy. Item number 3, guaranteed maximum price amendment with Felker Construction for renovations and additions to the John Davis Recreation Center. Andrew?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. What I will do is, first of all, remind the council that this was a 2020 SPLOST referendum project to renovate and add additions to the John Davis Recreation Center. The history on this is back in September of 2022, the council approved a form of procurement called Construction Manager at Risk with Felker Construction. What that allowed them to do was to be a part of the design for the project in consultation with the architect, Greg Sims. And to this point, the only thing that the city is basically contracted with them to do is serve during the pre-construction phase. Tonight's action is related to approval of a guaranteed maximum price amendment. So as the design was completed, the budget was formulated for the project. The contractor has established a guaranteed maximum price of $11,643,333 to construct the project. That includes the general contractor's fee that was outlined in the construction manager agreement approved back in 2022, as well as a $250,000 contingency. And if that contingency is not used, it will be returned all or in part to the city. And the construction timeline for the project, as we've discussed previous work sessions and finance committee meetings, is August 31st, 2025 for substantial completion. And we plan to issue notice to proceed this week once the contractor provides the necessary bonds and certificates of insurance. And the 4 photos that you see on the screen are the renderings that were provided by the architect as to what the final project will look like. Be glad to answer any questions.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
to address Mr. Moore's concern, if either Andrew or Mr. Sims' office could give us, an idea of what the scope of the I know we're aware, but I want everybody, including certainly Mr. Moore, who's taken the time to come here tonight, to understand what the scope of the project is.
Okay. All right. I'll be glad to give an overview, and then certainly Greg or Kathy, feel free to jump in. But the existing facility was comprised of 3 different building projects, one in the 50s, one I believe in the 60s, and then the final addition, which what we know as the administrative offices, was constructed in the 80s. The project scope, as we've reviewed in many public meetings, includes renovating the existing administrative building. So the building that was constructed in the 1980s will be renovated for the offices of the staff. And then as you see in the top left photo or top right photo, there will be a sizable expansion of the project to include a new basketball gym that you see in the bottom left, as well as many multi-purpose spaces, both on the bottom floor and on the top floor. Those were designed in coordination with the Parks and Rec staff as to what their needs will be today and what their needs will be in the future. The building was designed as an institutional type building, which means that the architect designed this building to be a key part of the Parks and Rec department in the city for the next 50 to 75 years. The other thing about the project, if you look at the top right photo, you'll notice that there is a standalone building that is proposed to be constructed, which is what we refer to as the pool access building. So previously, all access to the pool was through the primary building. So the locker rooms, restrooms, things like that, mechanical equipment. It was all within the footprint of the existing building under the design that's been crafted. Users of the pool will be able to access through that pool access building. There will be men and women's locker rooms with changing stations, showers, restrooms, lockers. And as things stand at the moment, the pool will be simply to put back the pool that's there today. We're not doing any, as it currently stands, we're not doing any modifications to the proposed pool. So you see the T orientation of the pool under the current contract with Felker. That is all that's been proposed to be done. But what I will say is that we have been having some discussions internally about, and with the architect and the contractor, about a potential change in the design of that pool, if the council so wishes to pursue that opportunity, as well as the Rec Commission, to widen that pool to more than, I believe the existing pool has 5 or 6 lanes at 50 meters. There has been some discussion, and I've tasked the architect with drawing a schematic that would show more than those lanes, which would involve potentially a change order if the council wish to proceed with that now or down the road. But we're very proud that the design has taken some time to complete, because we were tasked with attaching a new building to an existing building that had been there for many years. There was a lot of engineering and long nights to be able to contemplate a design where everything worked seamlessly. I'm very thankful that the architect was able to put together a really good plan, and also from Felker's standpoint, the project cost at times was even more than the number that you see there on the screen, as we have about 30 different trade contractors that will be working on this project as subs for Felker, and that we have been able to value engineer that number down pretty significantly over the last couple of months.
I would just add, Councilmember Farrow, that some context behind and for the audience of why the pool would perhaps change its design would be to accommodate competition swimming. Okay, so would be for that purpose. A lot of effort has gone into this, and we want to make sure that we're building a facility that accommodates the needs of now and of a growing swimming community.
So it would widen it out to the present, well, like where the diving well is, just make it
A rectangle
angular
instead of a
shape.
T.
It would also change the depth to be accommodating to what the requirements are for competition.
Wouldn't have a diving well anymore. Or
We're really not that far along. Greg owes me. He said he motions that he's working on it. He's working on those drawings now and what options we have, but we're certainly going to engage, the partners that we have in the swim community to help us make those decisions so that I can bring some options back to the council.
another question, I've had a lot of people ask me why we're doing this, why we didn't build 2 gyms instead of 1. Correct me, but we can add another gym to the north of this present facility fairly seamlessly, or is that my understanding?
Yes, sir. That's a question I posed to the architect, and Greg has advised me that structurally down the road, if this council should ever wish to appropriate funds to add a secondary gym or any other type of use to the due south of the project,
South,
that would be possible.
And Matt Gaston retains their gym.
Right. Right. That's what I think. You'd lose the playground there, right, if you did that. Yeah, because playground's been there.
Yeah, so the question we're often asked is about the pool and why it went out of service, things like that. First of all, again, I'll go back to the point of having to tie a new construction facility into an existing building. We didn't have very good as-built drawings on the existing building, so the architect tasked us with, tearing some of that building apart to be able to see where beams and columns were. Obviously, that couldn't be done safely while keeping the pool open last summer. And as far as this summer, while the pool can't be open, number one, we're concerned, we're going to have potentially cranes erecting steel members and things like that in close proximity to the pool. So that's a concern. But more particularly, it's hard to tell, but on the top right photo, kind of in the middle, on the top left corner of the pool, all of the existing mechanical equipment for the pool is located in that area. And we're tasked with actually building a building around all of the infrastructure to serve the pool. So the pump, the heater, all of that is in a position where today, unless we make, substantial changes to design, we're tasked with building a building around all the infrastructure to the pool.
I know that's not part of this project, but it's my understanding that in the future, if we do additional pickleball complex, it'll be part of this property, not certainly adjacent to this facility, but nearby.
Yes, sir. We're designing a project right now on what I would call the southeast corner of James Brown Park. So just in the same proximity as far as north-south as this building is, but on the east side of the creek.
We'll be connected, some kind of
Connected.
pedestrian bridge where they can come over afterwards and have coffee or something like that.
That's correct. Or, if parents want to play pickleball and their kids want to go shoot basketball at the gym, they could do that and all be at the same park. So again, just as a reminder, what is presented before you tonight is approval of the guaranteed maximum price amendment to allow Felker Construction to get started with the project. And that is the guaranteed maximum price that the city will pay, short of any unforeseen change orders that will have to be addressed on a case-by-case basis.
I just wanted to mention too, and that yes, it is 1 gym, but Matt Gaston Community Center retains its gym, and that will remain open even after this is complete. Are there any other questions in this council?
Motion to approve. Second.
Have a motion and a second. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Number 4, Geo Hydro Engineers Professional Services Agreement for Construction Testing Services at John Davis Recreation Center.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As you might recall at the last meeting, when you all approved the police department building project, we followed right behind with a third-party construction testing agreement for that project to inspect the foundation, steel placement, concrete testing. We need to do that same thing on the John Davis Center project. Obviously, this project's of larger scope than the police department building. So the cost is a little bit more than what the police department testing testing services provider contract was. This one is for $56,661. And that's an owner supplied item, not a contractor provided, because we want them to be independent, separate and apart from the contractor.
Any questions?
Motion to approve. Second.
Have a motion and a second. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item number 5, contract with Sports Fields, Inc. for baseball and softball turf infields for Heritage Point Regional Park.
Good evening. As you're aware, the Recreation Department, we are awarded $2.2 million in the Improving Neighborhood Outcomes in Disproportionately Impacted Communities. The approved project scope was installation of synthetic turf on all 10 infields. We advertised proposals for this project in April. We opened those responses on Friday, May 10th. We went through an interview process. We were lucky to interview 2 very qualified contractors. We selected Sportsfield Inc. in the amount of $3,068,890. This is including the basis of our design along with alternates 1, 2, 5, and 6. Part of their project and scope they'll do it in 2 phases where at least 5 fields will be available through the entire project. So when they finish 1 through 5, they'll move on to 6 through 10. And this was presented to Recreation Commission and it comes with a positive recommendation.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
As a baseball purist, I hate to think of kids playing on an infield that's not dirt infield, but I guess this is just where we are nowadays in youth sports.
It is, yeah, with the amount of traffic you see on facilities like a Parks and Recreation Department, the longevity, the maintenance savings that you see, turf is the direction most recreation departments that are lucky enough to do, they will do. It was funny through the interview process, one of the contractors called this the turf country up here. And so we're just finally catching up.
I will say we've had a ton of drainage issues on those infields the last few years, and our local expert on this project is Rec Commissioner Mitchell Boggs, and it's got his signature of approval. So if it's good enough for Mr. Boggs, it's good enough for us.
Is the 2.2 part of this 3 million, or that's
Yes.
what's left?
So what's left is bond proceeds will cover the remainder. We had $1 million that would go to other upgrades within the park, and so we'll use that to cover that rest, the remainder of it.
But yes, the 2.2 is in the 3, so
Yes.
the city's remaining portion's right at 800,000.
Another dumb question. Do they have a dirt area around the bases?
They don't. So part of those one of the alternates is 5 and 6. It is Velcro areas. And so you see really high used areas like your softball pitchers. When they pitch, they drag their toes. And so we've requested that when that area gets really rutted out and down and the turf lays down, we can go in and replace it ourselves.
They can still slide on that material.
They can still slide.
Plus, this keeps them in play when we have rain events.
It
and
does.
We'll keep our hotels full because they won't have to cancel.
No other question? I have a motion.
I'll second.
A motion, a second. If no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Caitlin. Item number 6, contract with Dalton Convention Center for human trafficking training.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is kind of a follow-up item from the May 6th meeting. If you'll recall, the council approved a resolution to authorize the use of settlement funds from the opioid trust for certain uses. One of those was a human trafficking prevention conference for our local healthcare and law enforcement personnel, as well as anybody else from the public that may want to attend. It's a 3-day conference at the convention center from July 30th through August 1st. I believe that's Tuesday through Thursday. And they will talk about the effect that the opioid epidemic has had on human trafficking as part of this training. And the rental is what we're asking you to approve of the Trade Center for 3 days at the cost of $22,356.54. And again, this is coming out of those trust funds that currently we have right at $130,000. And then in the next few meetings, we'll be bringing other contracts before you related to the other uses that were approved at the last meeting.
Any questions?
Motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. If no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, item number 7, first reading ordinance 24-14 to amend chapter 2 of the 2001 revised code of the city of Dalton, Georgia, captioned administration to provide for an effective date, to provide for the repeal of conflicting ordinances, to provide for severability, and for other purposes.
Madam Mayor, we'll call on City Attorney to review this. What I'll mention, though, is, as you know, the governor recently signed the new city charter into law. And so over the next several months, you'll be seeing various city codes brought before you to reconcile our code with the new charter that's been approved. And this is the first step. And it's actually the first chapter of city code and our code of ordinances that needed to be addressed. And I'll defer to council on what it includes.
Thank you, Andrew. So we did go through and make some changes that number one, made it compatible with the new charter. But number two, also dealt with some things that we were doing historically that, were just not necessarily in the code, but the way that we transacted business, and we made those things clearer in this section. And so just to give you a brief overview, we went through and deleted outdated references that were in the code. We deleted items that were covered in the new charter, like the city administrator section is all included in the charter. We cleared up things like you'll notice in Section 227, the salary approvals every year. The code says that those need to be done at the beginning of the year. We actually do that with the budget process, and so we just made that clearer. There are some things like the Public Works Committee and the Finance Committee. We just clarified how we're doing those things now. Section 261 provides for an oath. The charter indicated that we would create by ordinance an oath that all board members, authority members would take, and so we did that. We also made some changes related to the PSC. The PSC. This was a move from the old charter to the ordinances where this really should have been. So we put the PSC there. It will have 5 members, 1 council member. Council member will be on there, as well as a public safety or former public safety employee. We're doing that now, but this just puts that in the code. We have a section that affirms the Rec Commission that was created by a resolution probably 60 years ago or so. So that's now identified in our code. We had some other cleanup things like there's a whole reference to not smoking in buildings, and that, of course, is covered by Georgia state law now, the Smoke-Free Act. And then we renumbered, and we also cleared up some issues pertaining to liaisons. Uh, What we've done historically, we've had some liaisons that serve and vote and some that don't. And so this just made it clear as to who does what. So that's a basic overview of the changes that we've made.
Again, this is just a first reading. It'll be published on the website and we'll be prepared to bring it to for a vote, the first meeting in June, unless there's any necessary edits.
Any other questions? This time, I'll ask for a motion to go into executive session. I would share with the audience, there's no business following executive session before this council.
Second,
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
will we meet in here in another room?
Second floor conference room where we had finance committee.
I'll state for the record, the executive session is for potential litigation, real estate, and personnel matters. Thank you.
Put some hair on me, okay? I know.
Do we have to wait on him? Can we get?
Yes.
Otherwise, we could have put it upstairs.
To make it official.
Good.
Motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned.
Andrew, can I talk to you just?
Wants to adjourn.